Mr. Dodaro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Senator Johnson, Senator Corker, Senator Merkley. It's a pleasure to be here today to assist your deliberations to take stock 1 year after the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act was passed. At this juncture, our overall assessment is that the TARP program, in particular the Capital Purchase Program, made a very important contribution to improving the situation with the credit markets. But when you look at the full portfolio of programs under the TARP umbrella, in many respects, there's still a work in process with many uncertainties and challenges that lie ahead. And some of the ultimate return on the investment, I think, remain very unclear at this point in time. Now, on a positive standpoint, while it's very difficult to isolate TARP's specific impact, given the wide range of other programs by the Federal Reserve and FDIC, overall indicators that we've been tracking on interbank lending rates along with interest rate spreads show dramatic improvement since October 2008, when the Capital Purchase Program was announced along with other federal initiatives. And as you've heard, there have been repayments made for the Capital Purchase Program by many institutions, $700 billion. There's been 2.9 in warrants that have been exercised, and about $7 billion in dividend payments. However, there are hundreds of other institutions that still have received TARP funds and still receiving them under that program, and it needs active management to ensure that they're complying with all the requirements. In other cases, there are investments that have been made, particularly in the case of AIG in the auto industry, where there's a clear need to have a very well-defined exit strategy on the part of the government that balances returning those companies to private control while managing and making sure that they're minimizing the potential losses to the federal government. We're looking very carefully at that and evaluating what those exit strategies are being contemplated by the Treasury Department and others. And as you've heard today, the home modification program is in its very early stages and a long way from fulfilling the expectations that many people had for that program, and other programs are just in the process of getting off the ground. So from a total standpoint and looking at TARP, it's had some positive impact on the credit markets, but a lot of the programs have very uncertain outcomes at this particular point in time. Now, in order to foster greater accountability and transparency, GAO's issued about 7 reports. We're required to report every 60 days. We've had over 36 recommendations in those reports to make sure that better controls were put in place, that there was a better oversight, greater transparency and accountability. Treasury's agreed with the vast majority of those recommendations and has partially or fully implemented most of them. However, many remain outstanding, including putting in place a chief of the home ownership program, which we believe was very important to help give additional emphasis to that program and to have a better communication strategy. They've made some strides in this area, but this will be really important going forward, particularly as it relates to communicating whether or not they're going to extend or propose to extend the TARP program for another year. So those activities are really important. We are in the process of completing the first annual financial audit over the Office of Financial Stability's financial statements, and we'll be reporting soon on that financial audit, which will include valuation of all the investments that they hold to date. So I think it'll provide pretty good illumination on those points. We have efforts underway to look at the automobile industry in terms of steps that they've taken, GM and Chrysler, and also with our newest statutory authority to look at the Federal Reserve's oversight of AIG. We're going to continue to look at that effort, along with the partnership efforts we have with Mr. Borowski and his team to look at how the federal government is pursuing different corporate governance strategies and oversight mechanisms across a wide range of entities, both within the TARP program as well as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for example. So that concludes my opening statement. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Dardaro.